Welcome to the SVG-TV news for Friday, January 12th. I am Khalil Kato with the details. The Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court, the ECSC, commenced its new law year today with the focus on innovation and justice reform. The ECSC held its traditional ceremonial opening proceedings in all 9 member states, including here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, under the theme, Innovation and Justice Reform, the ECSC looking to the future. The first scheduled sitting for the Court of Appeal for 2024 was held in Grenada. Speaking on the theme in her feature address, Chief Justice of the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court, Her Ladyship, Dame Janice M. Pereira, said that innovation and reform make up the mortar that connects and binds the building blocks of the justice system.
Whether it is modernizing the technological resources to remedy systemic impediments to the administration of justice, reimagining processes and revising rules of procedure for greater security and efficiency, or optimizing cross-institutional cooperation within the justice system, innovation and reform are necessary tools in realizing a more fair and just society and fulfilling the court's mission. These bridge the gap between justice itself and the contemporary effectiveness and efficiency with which it is delivered. The ECSC has always remained committed to expanding and improving its processes and rules of procedure to enhance access to justice for the people of the Eastern Caribbean. Being the judicial arm of government, the court's main purpose includes upholding the rule of law and enforcing each citizen's right to equal protection of the law.
Justice Pereira said the ECSC has made tremendous strides in transforming court filing and case management through its e-litigation portal, ELP.
Since 2018, we have made tremendous strides in transforming the court's filing and case management systems through our e-litigation portal, which we call the ELP. We cannot deny the very tangible benefits that we have seen since implementing the ELP. Significantly, we have experienced a reduction in delays caused by our former reliance on a paper-based system, a marked increase in the clearance rates, the greater ease in accessing and managing case files across the length and breadth of our member states and territories, allowing the court to enjoy greater ease and flexibility of operation. I am informed that here in Grenada, case backlog for civil matters has been significantly reduced. This is a feat that ought to be emulated by the other member states and territories.
The Chief Justice, however, noted that the implementation of a criminal module of the ELP is near completion for full implementation, with testing for full functionality currently underway. She added that the first installation of the criminal module is on schedule to go live during the first quarter of this year and a complete rollout across all member states and territories by the third quarter of the year.
We have also made great progress toward realizing the launch of the criminal module in both the high courts and the magistracy across the member states and territories. The implementation of the criminal module will take us to a full digitization of case management services in all cases and at all levels of our court. A novel feature of our electronic case management system, which is being pursued, is the adoption of a cross-sectional approach by automating information sharing between the various stakeholders in the management of criminal cases. Prospective users of the criminal module will include staff from the offices of the Directors of Public Prosecutions and Attorneys General. Later, it is hoped that this will be expanded to the police and correctional facilities. It is expected that the sharing of information across agencies and the introduction of an automated data exchange system will reduce the inaccuracies and delays often caused by paper-based methods in criminal case management, facilitate ease of cross-institutional processes, and allow for the reallocation of human resources to other important tasks for greater efficiency.
Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves on radio yesterday clarified that he could only have invited and not called upon Minister of Finance Camilo Gonsalves to wrap up the debate on the 2024 budget. The debate on the $1.6 billion EC dollar budget ended prematurely when no one rose after House Speaker Rochelle Ford called for further debate, after which the Prime Minister invited the Finance Minister to wrap up the budget.
Because the opposition, as I pointed out, they were confusing two words, two verbs. And Cummins was using them interchangeably. I say, cannot use invite and call on. Interchangeably, I can invite a member of my side, in this case the Minister of Finance, to wrap up. But it is the Speaker who calls on him. So when I invited Camilo stood up because nobody else stood up. At that time when Camilo stood up, Bruce or Cummins or Olivier, if they wanted to talk, could I get up and say, Madam Speaker, we want to talk? But everybody trying to play chicken now. As they say in local parlance. And this game must stop. The business of the country cannot be conducted in that kind of way. And everybody knows that the leadership of the government is strong and firm. And I'm not involved in any time wasting in Parliament in this particular manner. Because if I'd gone and spoken before, apart from breaking the logical sequence of how these things happen, I would have accommodated myself to weaknesses and facilitated the opposition in a manner where it's not my business to facilitate them in that way. You have opportunities to talk. It's only when Camilo had started his presentation that they begin to keep a whole heap of nice.
All across talk.
Plenty cross talk with all kind of foolishness and irrelevancies.
Yes.
Taking up a lot more time than if they had gotten up to talk. But they're playing the game of chicken. And then, typical of Friday's self-righteousness, want to put the blame on me. Camilo presented the budget. That is the budget of the country. All of us line up behind that. You want to raise objections. Raise them, and we will respond. But they ain't do anything like that.
The Prime Minister also used the opportunity on radio to rubbish a claim by Leader of the Opposition, Dr. Godwin Friday, that the government is running out of ideas.
This budget, these estimates, and the budget speech is chock-full with new initiatives and ideas. This speech, which was 5.25 hours. This budget is the largest budget ever presented. You want to tell me this is a government running out of ideas when we successfully managed COVID.
Yes.
We successfully managed the volcanic eruption and the rebuilding and reconstruction period. The people who had all the arguments and gave us one more seat in 2020 than we had before. Under Camilo watch, some records on the fiscal side and the performance side we have noticed. In 2022, St. Vincent and the Grenadines was the fastest growing economy in CARICOM after Guyana. Guyana numbers are in the stratosphere. They start with a small base, and oil carry them 40-something, 50-something%.
Yes.
You know, it's just numbers out of this world because of oil. That's 2022. In 2023, we again were the second largest growing economy in CARICOM after Guyana. And we are projected to be so in 2024. And that is what you're talking about, running out of ideas. There are more people employed today than at any time in the history of St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
At a news conference following the early wrap-up of the 2024 budget debate, Leader of the Opposition, Dr. Godwin Friday, said members of the government are presenting a picture that shows that they are either out of touch with the people or don't care.
So what we saw from the government was tax increases and motor vehicle licenses, conductor fees, electrical inspections, airport charges, vehicle inspection fees, and of course the NIS contributions. We didn't see anything that would make a difference in the lives. That is the hardship that people are feeling, because they operate, it seems to me, on the presumption, and I said that in my comments yesterday, that if you build a big project, but just the sheer scale of it is proof that people's lives are getting better. There is no deliberate attempt to plan as to how this is going to actually translate into better for the people of this country. And that is why the disconnect exists, and they don't seem to understand it. They couldn't fathom it when I responded in that manner to the budget yesterday, and I think they anticipated that my colleagues would have proceeded in the same line of attack. And quite frankly, when they were called upon to speak this morning, nobody would get up. That is extraordinary. What is happening with the government of this country? They seem to have run out, not just of ideas, but of energy, and of the feeling of obligation and what personal feelings might be, to stand and be accountable to the people of this country. That is unacceptable. The finance minister couldn't even get his sums right yesterday when he presented one set of figures, and the the prime minister had to come and correct it. You know, like you're correcting your child's homework. You know, we came prepared. The government was not.
Dr. Friday said the government owed it to the people to have seen the budget debate taken through the entire exercise.
In fact, that the way the budget was presented, it really is, year after year, built on a tissue of dishonesty and projections that they know are false, but they continue to do it. But today, I wish essentially to denounce and to draw to the attention of the people of this country that what happened in the Parliament this morning was a deliberate act on the part of the government, that is the Prime Minister, the Minister of Finance, to prevent full ventilation of the budget that they presented to the Parliament and to the people, to give their own ministers $476 million worth of programs and projects the opportunity to expand, defend, do whatever, to boast if they want to about their programs, but perhaps they had very little to brag about. Friends, there was one good thing, however, that came out of the budget debate yesterday, and that is, couldn't you really believe my ears when I heard that the minister said that the interest rates on student loans would be reduced to 4.5%. We welcome that, because that's a proposal that we had made and continue to make as an opposition since 2020. The government should have adopted it back then. Had they done so, students now would have saved thousands of dollars during that time.
And now that the budget debate has concluded, we took our cameras to the streets to find out what is the takeaway from people. Many were angry and said they'd rather not say anything, while others said they did not listen. A number of farmers said they tuned in to their radios to hear what was in the budget for them.
Government should do much better for the farmers. And the budget is only for them. It's not for the people who is underprivileged.
The budget is like Mickey Mouse right now. It's Mickey Mouse. These people not serious about we, and they love we, they care nothing about us. This is Mickey Mouse. In my whole life, I never heard nothing, all this kind of stupidness was going on in Parliament and all this kind of thing.
Well, we see how things going in St. Vincent. It ain't shape up nice. It's just like the farmers, them ain't getting no help at all. The farmers and them come like the last and the least, and them is the people and them who just make the food grow in the country, because if them ain't go out and cut the grass and plant the food, people and them can't get food for it. It are some people sit down lazy, don't want to do nothing at all. And I go tell you plain talk, when man working hard, they deserve pay. Nobody do even look for him pay the farmers and them need lifting up. All you're seeing is other people with big ride and this and that, and when man working hard, they can't see nothing.
How things going? I think as the government raise a little salary, but in one way taking it back. But I think if we go on for the 2014 song, but it could be a little better. So I pray and hope that things better for all of us, all the crime and violence. They don't be wiped out. We pray for each and everyone so St. Vincent could be a better place. But today and years go by. So we give thanks. Because we're better off than some.
There were mixed reactions to the increase in wages and other increases as part of the fiscal measures.
It's the lowest pay rate in the Caribbean, so we need a raise of salary. So I don't have a problem. Yeah. We need a raise of salary.
The part when we hear that drive license, vehicle license, driver's license, before that kind of stuff.
They also raised the wages to $50 a day.
Well, that is a good thing, yeah, that is a good thing, yeah. Because the money that they were paying was really nothing.
It's a good thing, it's a good thing for the country, yeah. So the money will circulate, so people will spend more.
Miss money go back in the government hand. You go back in the government hand. I say, whatsoever raise a pay raise for the people, they go back in his hand. So it make no sense.
How much you think he should have raised by?
$100 instead of 50.
Wages, I see it as a economical disorder. I ain't gonna say much, yeah, but it's like a very disorder. They have to put more thoughts into it.
And when we live on the road, they run away out of and off the road, and time hard like rock. Therefore, they hot sun, in sun and rain.
Medical Officer Dr. Roger Duncan has reiterated an appeal for Vincentians to adhere to the necessary precautionary measures to protect themselves from the infectious diseases and influenza viruses, including the swine flu, which are said to be on the rise in the country. In a news release issued on Thursday, the Ministry of Health, Wellness and the Environment said its surveillance committee reported between December 25, 2023 to January 6, 2024, a notable increase in the influenza A H1N1 virus or swine flu, with 32 laboratory-confirmed cases considered above the normal threshold for that short period of time. On radio today, Dr. Duncan encouraged persons to get tested once you're exhibiting symptoms of these viruses.
People get sick. Today I have fever, plenty joint pains. I really don't feel well. There's vomiting. You stay home, you stay in bed. And when it gets to day 3 or 4, when you realize, well, I haven't gone to work for 3 days, so I know I have to get some sick leave, that's when you turn up to the doctor. And sometimes by that time, some of the symptoms might have begun to abate. Your fever has gone, which means that your viremia, which is the amount of virus that you have in your body, wouldn't be the same. So we miss opportunities for testing. But please get testing. It is free. It is simple. For influenza A, it's the same nasopharyngeal swab we did for SARS-CoV-2, for COVID-19. All physicians throughout the state, whether or not you're in private or you're in public practice, you have access to the lab. You could just send the samples to the lab. If you don't have the sample collecting tools, the sample collecting materials, the viral transport medium, the swabs, call us at the hospital lab, 611-85. You ask for the laboratory, and we make arrangements to have you to have you delivered both VTM, viral transport medium, as well as swabs. So it's important that people get tested. The more people get tested, the better it is for us in terms of knowing what exactly these figures are, and a better understanding of what the landscape looks like.
Speaking on endemic diseases in SVG, Dr. Duncan said dengue fever and leptospirosis cases will appear annually, with 17 cases of dengue and 20 cases of leptospirosis recorded last year. However, the statistics were within the endemic threshold.
We have had in this country circulated all 4 serotypes of dengue, type 1, 2, 3, and 4. All right. Now, it's on one hand, this could give us some sort of immunity within the population. On the other hand, if you had, for instance, type 1 and then you get infected with type 3, there is a possibility that you could get severe disease. So that is why it's important. And the rain seems to be coming off and on, and mosquitoes love this. And mosquitoes are getting really better at surviving. I mean, they breed in the smallest, tiniest of spaces. The eggs, even in the dry weather, the eggs are able to survive waiting water to come. So we want you to, our vector control people have been active. We since the last outbreak in 2020, we've had additional staff in our vector control program.
who've been around and about doing inspections in people's homes and so forth. So they will be coming around, and we want you to cooperate with them. We want you to listen to them. We want you to take the advice that they give you, and particularly actions that they ask you to take to decrease breeding of mosquitoes on your premises would be important. And while they're looking at mosquitoes, they will also talk to you about conditions to harbors of rodents. And we know leptospirosis is spread through primarily rats, through rat urine and rat feces. And, we have to keep these in mind.
The medical officer of health said everyone is at risk for swine flu. However, persons over the age of 65 ought to be extra careful in protecting themselves against the virus. He listed several major indicators of influenza A, H1N1 in adults and children for which they should seek urgent medical attention.
People who have chronic illnesses, chronic kidney failure, diabetes, people who have cancers, people who are asthmatic, okay? You need pregnant women also. You need to protect yourself more than anything else. Right. So if you have a high fever, which is high fever we quantify as over 38 degrees Celsius, you have a cough, you have a sore throat, and you're generally not feeling well. This could also be accompanied by abdominal pain, diarrhea, and vomiting. So you really need to, as I said, it's best if you're calling first to your doctor to let them know what's happening and let them know that you want to come in and you're going to come in. But you need to do that. You really need to go. It's going to do two things. One, it's going to allow you to have access to care very early, okay? And it will allow you to get tested early so that we can know what it is exactly that you have. And, if your child is sick, I know it's difficult, especially when parents are employed and they're working, that you really don't want to send your child if your child is ill, because in nature of, one, the virus itself, and secondly, the nature of the interactions between children at that age. And you discuss this openly within your communities, within your families, within your schools, within your workplaces. You discuss about the risk of transmission of these diseases. So you have a right to, if you're in your workplace or in your school, to say, or you look at the tuck shop to say, look, the food is not secured properly. I see you storing the sugar, for instance, and the lid is not on the plastic container. The lid needs to be on securely and tightly. So you need to have those conversations at home, at school, and within the communities.
Today, January 12th, marked 9 years since 7 students from the North Windward village of Fancy lost their lives in the tragic rock gutter bus incident. On January 12, 2015, the 7 students were on their way to school when the omnibus, which they were traveling on, went over an embankment into the sea. The bodies of 2 of the 7 students killed in the tragic incident were never recovered. In 2017, Devanan Nanton, a then 36-year-old chauffeur, and Ehud Myers, a pastor who has since passed away, were each freed of 7 counts of involuntary manslaughter in connection with the deaths of the students when the court upheld no case submissions by their lawyer at the preliminary inquiry stage. In a telephone interview with SVG-TV News, Hezron Ballantyne said it has been a challenge dealing with the death of his beloved daughter, Simonique, whose body was never recovered. Ballantyne said specific dates, including his daughter's birthday, are particularly difficult.
Well, what I can tell you is that the challenge has been real, especially when it comes to her birthdays, with the anniversary, Christmas time, and occasions like Father's Day. Those occasions, really and truly, when they come around, because of the fact that she used to treat me that special, even writing that I love you, it's just something special so that I can remember on these kind of days, so to speak. Christmas time, I remember she used to be the one, sometime most of the time in the kitchen, beating up the cake and so on. So you can imagine when Christmas comes, most difficult thing for my wife and I and family members is closure. I know Nelsa also, or the parents of the deceased, also haven't got any closure to regards to finding the body of her daughter, also like myself. And this would have had a little bit more comfort. It is so painful to remember the tragic day.
Ballantyne said on each anniversary since the tragic incident, he would visit the rock gutter site to find some comfort, as he often remembers the last day his daughter was alive. Ballantyne, who is a senior police officer, expressed gratitude to everyone who continues to show support to the bereaved families, noting that he is hoping the 10th anniversary, a memorial function will be held to honor the lives of the 7.
This morning, my wife and I, we went round to just reminiscing on the day in question. Of course, the sea, the water was not raging like it was on the 12th, 2015, but it brings back a lot to us. So it's always a difficult period around this time, but I really want to take this opportunity to thank all the persons who were to us. Since the incident, the parents developed a chat group and we have been in constant communication. We continue to communicate and we are hoping for the 10th anniversary to have a function so that we can have persons who would have reached out to us on the date come and celebrate the life of these beautiful and adorable kids. Yes, what I do know is that some of the parents, most of the other parents would visit the cemetery, basically where the children were laid in fancy and lay wreaths and candles.
According to Ballantyne, the tragedy has brought residents of Fancy closer together, and that the survivors of the tragic incident should not be forgotten. In Parliament on Wednesday, Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves expressed sympathies to the relatives and friends of the 7 students.
Anticiaste, Simonique Ballantyne, Jamali and Jamil Edwards, Raquel Ashton, Anik Alexander, and Glenroy Michael. I think those are the 7. Madam Speaker, I remember them daily. The family of the deceased persons gave a plaque to me, and that plaque stands on the wall immediately in front of where I sit as Prime Minister. Daily, I see these students, these young people. They fortify me, they bolster me, they strengthen me, and they give me inspiration to do the work that I'm elected to do with God's will. This was a terrible tragedy, and I'm sure I speak on behalf of all members of this Honourable House, certainly on behalf of this side and the government and people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Our solidarity with the families. It must be a matter of continuing pain for their grievous loss.
Opposition Senator Chevron John also extended sympathy in remembrance of the 7 deceased students.
It was a real sad time, and I know I have family members in that loss as well. I have spoken to parents on many occasions, and we still grieve because their loss, as a mother especially, I feel it. I know the loss, I know the pain to get the news, and I know I was on the scene, and it was a really horrific time. Madam Speaker, in the meantime, I also want to extend condolences to those who, from the plane crash, who lost their loved ones there, and also to those who were persecuted in that rock gutter accident. I know they still feel that pain. It is still a hard time for them. So I also send the love as well to those persons. Much obliged, Madam Speaker.